Hello Internet, this is Daniel from Driving and Dragons, and today I'm just going to take a quick minute to go over a little bit of a classic, something just a little bit more fun, a little bit less substantive, I guess you could say. And I was thinking about George Carlin, the comedian. Back in the day, his big groundbreaking sketch was the 7 words you can't say on TV. It's all about censorship, and he's like, here's the bad words that are so bad they're never okay. There's no way to make them okay. And that was his big breakout sketch. And I was thinking, what are the 7 things that you can't say at a tabletop role-playing game group online without just kicking that anthill and stirring stuff up from the beginning? What are 7 things that are going to set people off? And these are in no particular order, though I will say that the first one is probably the least objectionable of them all. Not to me. To me, it makes me want to pull what little hair I've got left out, and I want to slam my private parts in a glass sliding door every time I hear it. But it's probably for the community as a whole the least objectionable. So, the first of the 7 things you cannot say in a Facebook group dedicated to tabletop role-playing games is Hivemind. Jesus, do I hate the Hivemind. For one, let's just get this out in the open. If you're talking from a Dungeons & Dragons perspective, Gary Gygax himself pointed out that this is just antithetical to what Dungeons & Dragons is supposed to be about. He said it himself that no 2 games should be the same. You should be changing rules. You should be making things different at your table. And he flat out said that you could never have a solid fixed rule that would be the sign of the death of the tabletop role-playing game, in his case, the death of Dungeons & Dragons, when there was some fixed, agreed-upon rule system or ruling or way to play, because we are such a group of individuals. This hobby, this game, is designed for a community of individuals who are all just unique and eclectic. That is the exact opposite of a hive mind. And you hear it every time. All right, hive mind, I need ideas for this. All right, hive mind, I gotta have this. Like, stop with hive mind. The whole reason you're coming to the rest of the community is because it's not a damn hive mind. If it was, there'd be no reason to ask. So it's just an obnoxious term. It just sounds so stupid. Hive mind needs to go away. And yes, there are a few people like me who I see hive mind, roll my eyes, and kind of try to glance over the post and see if I should just ignore it or go in and actually have a conversation. A lot of us, we see hive mind and we go in the comments thread just so that we can sit there and bust on them for saying hive mind. So hive mind is the first of the 7 things you cannot say in the tabletop role-playing groups without stirring shit up. Second one is player agency. Sometimes you got to talk about player agency. It's part of the game, especially if you're a game master. Player agency is kind of an important thing, but it's one of those terms that has just become so overused. It is such a whipping boy for some people. You got people who think that if you have any parameters whatsoever on your game world, somehow you're robbing player agency. So the second it comes up, that's a flame war waiting to happen. Why is it a flame war waiting to happen? Because you're going to have somebody who says that if you kill a player's character without their permission, somehow you have robbed them of player agency. And then you're going to have somebody like me who gets in there and says, as long as I'm letting them take the action they want, good or bad, and then making them pay the consequences of said action, that's still player agency. You did something stupid and bad things happened to you. I didn't take away your agency. Your agency was to do something stupid. So, get these people, but it stirs it up every single time. Somebody starts talking about how this, that, or the other robs player agency. The whole thread becomes about what is player agency as opposed to whatever the original topic was. So we're going to go back and we're going to go to number 3. This is one of my personal favorite whipping boys. This is one of my pet peeves, is alignment. You You bring up alignment, it's over. The conversation's dead. I will be doing a video at some point in time on alignment. I think it's the most grossly misunderstood thing, especially in Dungeons & Dragons, and especially since Wizards of the Coast, in their infinite wisdom, decided to completely make it just a cock mess out of what alignment actually is. You know, the game designers that Wizards hired for 4th and 5th edition had no idea what alignment was, so they immediately went in and screwed it up. They had no idea how the mechanic was supposed to work, so they turned it into a garbage heap, burning dumpster fire, messed it up. But that's for another video. For this video, you bring up alignment in a comment thread. First, you're going to have, if you're not in a Dungeons & Dragons exclusive group, you're going to have people who come in from various different games who are like, why bother? Or here, this system is something different. I like it better the way this is because it's a better way to do what alignment is not supposed to be, but so many people think it's supposed to be. You're going to have people arguing over what alignment is or how it's supposed to work, or is it outdated? Do you even know what the hell it is when you say it's outdated? Because 9 times out of 10, you're wrong about what it is. It's directly contradicted in the source material. But it's an instant fight. Everybody's going to start arguing over what alignment Batman is or what alignment the Punisher is. And it is an absolute nightmare. Third thing you just cannot say without starting a dumpster fire in one of these tabletop role-playing groups is alignment. The next one is railroad. Another one that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. Anytime you mention something, if the word railroad comes out, it starts the shitstorm. Usually what happens is that somebody is describing a linear storyline or how they want to try and get their players to do something. And just like the old player agency back at word number 2, here comes word number 4, oh, it's a railroad. God forbid you have a story that has a chain of events that are supposed to take place. God forbid you want your players to go to a specific location to do a specific thing. That is what we all agreed to do when we sat down at the table, which is play a game with a specific. It's not real life. The Dungeon Master cannot create an entire, fully functioning, independent world for you to play in. So having a linear story is not railroading, but you're going to get it the second you say the word railroad. Hang it up. The original post is now dead. It has been hijacked by people arguing over what is railroading. Is railroading good? Is railroading bad? How railroady is it? How can you completely screw it up to make it less railroady? It just becomes a whole thread about railroads and what railroads are and who the conductor is, and then you get the ad homs and you must be a garbage GM because you have to railroad because you actually have characters that do things and you have a plan of how events are going to go, and you didn't just somehow manage to create real life right there on the tabletop. But the point is, the second somebody says railroad, you can bet that you're going to derail the thread the second you say railroad. Next one is homebrew. Homebrew. Word number 5. Can't say homebrew. Why? Because same deal. You're going to get the rules as written people. You're going to get the guys who want to try and turn it into some kind of tabletop computer program that are going to be in there, and you're trying to talk about, hey, this is my homebrew rule, this is my homebrew game, and I'm making this decision for these reasons. Can you help me make it balanced? You're going to get somebody who comes in and talks about how, no, you can't. It's not going to be balanced because that's the way the rules were written. Why are you trying to change them? The famous myth that Wizards of the Coast or Chaosium or whoever has all this team of lab coat wearing game designer mega brains that have play tested this 1,000 hours to get it right, when really what they have is a room full of nerds like the rest of us who are trying to put together a game system and have a deadline to get it to a publisher so that it can make it onto the shelf at Books A Million for Christmas time. And that's absolutely the truth. There's no lab coat, but there sure are a whole lot of duct tape, popsicle stick, and band-aided solutions that are slapped on these games. But that's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to you hardcore every time you bring up Homebrew. You're going to have people getting in there arguing about, is Homebrew better than rules is written? What is Homebrew? How does Homebrew work? What's the definition of Homebrew? And even some what is Homebrew? And your thread just went completely sideways because somebody brought out the H word. Number 6, getting down to the end, rules lawyer. These last two are player types. Number 6 is rules lawyer. You want to talk about something that has completely lost its meaning. Usually what's going to happen is you're going to have somebody try to rules lawyer in a thread. He's going to get called a rules lawyer, and then you're going to have the whole thing go sideways as we debate what the definition of a rules lawyer is. All right, I'm going to step aside and say what I think a rules lawyer is, the way I view that term, and the way I think it was originally meant from the first time I ever heard it, which was way before you started having a bunch of GM groups on Facebook. That is, oh man, I got a player who's a rules lawyer. A player who has a mechanic in mind and has read the rule on how the mechanic works, and then his whole idea is completely derailed because the DM doesn't understand it or makes an arbitrary ruling on the other hand, and he wants to have a discussion about it. That is not rules lawyering. That is a player saying, hey, I read this, I understood this mechanic this way, this is the way I think it should work. And a DM who's disagreeing with it and is messing up the way that player wanted to play or what his idea was, and yeah, the GM has to make a ruling then and there, and maybe they need to have a conversation after the game about why it is or why it isn't. But that's not rules lawyering. Rule lawyering is going to be when somebody gets in there and they are trying to legalese or weasel word or be just obtuse about the way something's written to try and exploit the game to make something happen. That's typically your rules lawyer. That's what I think of when somebody who is going to try and courtroom drama you into making a particular decision. But the second you bring up rules lawyer, you're going to have the camp. Well, the rules were written that way for a reason. They were written that way for a reason. They didn't play test this game for 5,000 hours so that you could just arbitrarily change the rules. This person is in the right. That's not rules lawyering. That's just somebody who actually is playing the game we all agreed to play. And then on the other side, you're going to have the guy who says rule zero, buddy, dungeon master discretion. GM is the ultimate arbiter. Don't like it, find another table. Quit being a rules lawyer and derailing the game for everybody. Doesn't matter. You completely derailed the thread because now instead of talking about whatever the situation was, whatever the homebrew rule is that you're changing, whatever it is that you're trying to get across, or whatever advice you're asking for as a GM, your thread just got hijacked by people discussing rules lawyers, how to handle them, what a pain in the butt they are, what they even are, and who is and who isn't being a rules lawyer in that thread. But congratulations, you aren't getting what you originally asked for because somebody said rules lawyer. And the last one, number 7, words you can't say in the game master groups on Facebook, or really even the role-playing game groups on Facebook. That is min-maxer. This is a hybrid word, this last one. I'm kind of cheating with number 7. This is min-maxer, this is power gamer, this is pun, this is exploiter, this is all these things. Power gamer, OP, all right, min-maxer. First off, if you say somebody's min-maxing, you're immediately going to get 2 camps. One group that says they're ultra terrible min-maxers and you need to start manipulating your game to screw up their character, to work around them, to not do anything, focus on everything they're minimized for and avoid everything they're maximized for to teach them a lesson. And you're going to have another group that's going to come in and talk about they're just playing the game optimally and you're being a bastard for targeting them and that it's not really that bad. You as a game master are supposed to know how to get around it. And like everything else, there's some truth to both sides of it. For my part, just like a lot of these, I think a lot of people just don't really understand what a min-maxer really is or what an OP character or a optimized build really is. And they kind of exaggerate what it is just because somebody has a build that is built for certain strengths they automatically jump to power gamer. It's like, no, that's actually kind of realistic when you're talking about building a character. Certain people, are going to be better at certain things. For instance, a lot of people in these gaming groups are a whole hell of a lot more optimized for being a game master and a whole hell of a lot less optimized for being a quarterback. Okay? Why? Because they're professional game masters, not professional quarterbacks. Are they min-maxing? Not particularly. So, because God knows that DMing is not the only thing they can do. I mean, some of them even actually have successful human relationships with significant others. So they're clearly not min-maxed. Point is, the minute you start bringing up min-maxing, power gaming, whatever, you have just totally derailed your conversation. You've totally derailed your thread. You've just gotten into a discussion about what is or isn't min-maxing, what is or isn't power gaming. You've just gotten into a discussion about, is it good, is it bad, is it just the way people play the game, what should you do about it? Whatever you had started off talking about. I mean, I can put out a thread about pun and discussing the build and watch it get derailed the second somebody brings up power gaming. Why can we not say these 7 words? Probably because most of the time these 7 words get misused a lot in these groups a lot of times. But these are the 7 hot button trigger words that if you pop them into a GM's group on Facebook or a players group on Facebook, just buckle up and hold on, because the dumpster fire is about to get set, buddy. We're riding the rodeo in the comment section, and you have gone completely off track on whatever it is you originally wanted, because everybody's going to come out with an opinion when you say one of these 7. If you got a different word that I missed, drop it in the comment section below. Let me know if you disagree, and let me know if any of these things are part of your particular triggers, or any great stories about how these triggers just turned into this, went way out of hand when you had a conversation. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.